Okay, so one of our panelists is running a little late, but we're just going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to this panel. We've got a few in-person panelists. We've got a few zooming in. Let's start with some introductions. Let's start with Avery, and then we'll go to Guy and the rest of the panelists inside. And then Ned is going to take it away with the questions. So Avery, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Avery Denby. I'm a co-owner of Phoebe Rose Fiber Arts, a local business that we mostly make accessories and handbags.
And Guy, how about you?
Hi, my name is Guy Bertrand, owner or co-owner of GN Quills LLC. We specialize in paper, jewelry, and paper arts.
Clay?
Clay Achee, and I'm part owner of Beyond the Garage. We make largely puppets and toys and art prints. And I'm the creator of Ziggy and the Junkyard Band, which is right now a YouTube, which is a YouTube channel that we're trying to turn into a kids show.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I'm Ned Denby. I'm the business librarian for the East Baton Rouge Parish Library, and I will be moderating this panel today. So let's start off with, I'd like each of the panelists to kind of describe what they were doing before COVID and how the pandemic changed the directions that they were trying to do in, or changed the projects that they were working on. If we could start with Clay.
Sure. So, when I try to describe being a working artist to people, I usually try to describe, it's like the plate spinning metaphor, where like, if you can keep all the plates up, you have a livelihood.
Yeah.
But that's a big if, you know? So before the pandemic, you know, we were doing a lot of all the art markets we could, which those went away. We would do some online sales, which obviously is now more important than ever. And then I always joked, I said, you know, no matter what happens, if I'm having the slowest month of all, I can always go street perform with the puppets in New Orleans. Just go grab some money and grab tourist money and bring it back. And that will never be taken away from me. I can always do that. And then that got taken away from me. And I couldn't do that anymore.
As long as there's not a global pandemic.
Right.
And a
as long as
yeah.
there's not something that I could have never predicted. But yeah, so like I said, we did it's even more faceted than that. But I think out of all of our facets, you know, there was a lot of them that went away.
Yeah. All right, Avery or Guy.
We are kind of fairly new. Business is registered just this March, like literally when COVID started. So, I mean, I had a few art shows that I took part in before COVID, but when the business really started, it was COVID. So the first art show I took part in was in Lafayette. That was literally after that COVID hit and everything was closed. So we kind of were shut down from that March all through April. And that's when we started working on getting our website up and running. So honestly, I would say we're still in the midst of trying to figure out how to run the business online. So I don't really have that much experience yet. But at least during this time, we're able to get the site up and running, work on all the logistics to be able to, you know, the photo shots and work on the online marketing and all that stuff. Because one thing COVID has proven is with all the art shows pretty much closed during that time. And I mean, I had a bunch of really big ones canceled. And I was like, okay, we need to find a way to be able to remedy that. So right now, what we're working on is how to boost online marketing. And in our particular business, it's not a common product. I always tell people, when you tell somebody you make paper jewelry, the first thing in their mind is, what? What does that even mean? So, and until somebody comes to an actual show and sees it and they're like, is this 3D printed? I'm like, no, it's actually paper. So the hard thing for us is, how do you market something that nobody really knows about and sell? That is a challenge we're facing right now. And it's a hard nut to crack.
Yeah.
So we're working on it.
All right. Thank you. Avery?
Yeah, like everybody else, before the pandemic, we depended a lot on arts markets around the Southeast, all of which, closed. We were also in a couple of stores, but only a few items. Strangely, though, because we work with cloth a lot, or I guess not so strangely, all of our orders went from being for our purses to masks. And since we had a large stockpile of attractive fabrics, I guess you could say, we started producing a lot of masks for the couple of stores that we had been into. And that actually was enough to hold us over for a few months until recently, when we were able to start getting back into stores, although who knows how long that will last. Also in this time, I had enough extra time, I guess, because we weren't working on our larger projects, to take up a different medium. I've started doing woodworking as well, and having decent success doing that, kind of trying to diversify what my output is, kind of like Clay was talking about. And yeah, we tried to focus on online sales a bit at the beginning of the pandemic, but we actually found that creating relationships with some of the smaller independent stores in the area really allowed us to open up a market that we hadn't really discovered until COVID hit.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little more. Was there anything that kind of came up because of COVID-19, either because we all had so much free time during the lockdown, or just because you were forced to find new avenues that you see as a benefit or a growth for your business, or is it all bad?
I also learned a new skill. I mean, I think when it started and we were all like, hey, we may have a month of free time on our hands.
Yeah.
Remember when we were excited about this just for a moment? It really didn't last long, but I started teaching myself to animate,
Oh, cool.
which was cool because the videography aspect of what I do and the puppetry of what I do is all well and good until I try to get other human beings like puppeteers to help. So I actually, my ability to go film the things that I normally film and my ability to produce the content that I normally produce went away really fast. But I did start animating, both out of desperation and an abundance of time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was a nice accidental side effect, of a rough thing.
Okay. How ready were you to kind of make those changes? I know that Avery and Guy, your businesses are a little bit newer, but Clay, you're a little more established. So you were kind of on the path that you wanted to be on.
Yeah, I was.
So did you already have like the online part of your business set up, or?
Basically what had happened before was that we were very, very established with the art markets. But because our product is so tactile, and so many of the products we sell are one of a kind, we found it very difficult. We've always found it difficult to be online.
Yeah.
So even beforehand, when we wanted to go to Etsy, I can't just list a puppet. This is the one puppet that's ever going to look like this puppet. So there's all these kind of one-off listings that it's not set up for. And we've struggled with it over the years a lot. So one thing that we did that had worked for us in the past was just simply having social media presence, but also then, throwing $30 into Facebook to get your very specific demographic, the kind of money that you can put in to social media advertising can be highly, highly specific. unless you make a product that nobody knows what it, like I'm not envious of Guy. Man, the point you made about just having a product that like people aren't specifically looking for until they see it, like I relate and I feel you, because that's the anything that sort of that tactile I think is going to work that way. But it, you know, at least we can throw like $30 into you know, a social media platform to get a little advertising going to remind people that we're here while we're not out in the community.
Sure.
So that was something that we were able to do. And then, sorry, I feel like I had one more point. The question was, how ready was I?
Yeah, how ready to switch to online?
The short answer is not really. Yeah, no, we weren't really ready. We've struggled with it in the past and we struggle in the future. I will say this, the thing that ended up saving us over that time period was something your grandpa could have told you, which was have real good personal connections with your established customer base.
Yeah.
So what ended up getting us through was there's a bunch of people who were kind of been talking to me about maybe doing some customized puppets, you know, some very specialized puppets, which is the high end of what I do. And all of them suddenly decided that that's when they wanted that to get done. But we had been fostering those relationships and talking to those people for a long time. And then everybody had time all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So they were thinking about it. So anyway, that really floated us through the hardest part of that.
Great.
A real old school approach.
It's all about who you know.
Right.
All right, Guy, do you have anything you'd like to add? I know that you were maybe planning on doing arts markets for a while, I would imagine, to build up that customer base and those relationships. But did you always plan to have an online store as well, or were you going to focus on more in-person stuff?
Oh no, I always knew I was gonna go online. I mean, first of all, this business is a side thing I'm doing, just trying to grow it. I'm originally a software developer, so I don't think I ever felt the COVID hit, because with my job, the only thing that changed was my office moved from the actual office to the house.
Yeah.
Hours did not change. So when everybody's saying I had free time, I'm like, I wish nothing
No.
changed. So I had been working my 8 to 5 and then dealing with the kids and then burning a midnight oil working on my own stuff. So nothing actually changed for me. It was like life went on normally. The only thing was how to market my products. And for me, I was like, being in the software world, I knew that the future is online. That was not a question for me. It was just how soon was I going to get online? So my first thing was doing the markets, the art markets, to be able to test the product. Do people really want this thing? And overwhelmingly, it's been yes. I have been able to start building a whole bunch of, I've done a couple of markets, probably 8 different markets in different geographical areas. I was able to travel out of state just to visit some friends in Texas, Georgia, Washington, DC, Maryland, and I was able to sell in those different states. Actually, when I was in DC, I was even approached and I was told, hey, there's an art show here. Would you mind coming to DC doing it? I'm like, hey, I live in Louisiana. I can't do it. So that showed to me that there's people want it.
Yeah.
Challenge for me was just, how do I present this? Because again, anybody who sees it wants it, like actually sees a physical product. But how do I sell that to somebody who doesn't know? That has been the biggest challenge. So for me, art shows was just to be able to get people's opinions. When I go to art shows, my main target is talking to customers and figuring out, you know, when they see it, what's the first impression? What do they think it is? Like trying to just, you know, understand how their perception of it, so I could be able to market it in the way they would understand online. So for me, art shows are just a place, how can I put it?
It's market research. Yeah.
Yeah. Just trying to figure out how can I, if I don't tell anybody this is paper jewelry and he's looking at it, what does he, like when they see it, what's the first thing that comes to their mind? Because again, I'm trying to be able to portray that online. But your question, did I know I was going to go online? That has always been there in my mind. Finding a way to get it online and moving away from craft shows. Because again, in the long term, craft shows are very local.
Yeah.
And personally, I have a very international point of view. I've created contact with people in France. I've shipped to France already. I've created contact with people in East Africa to be able to ship there. I've sent samples. I have a global view of this market, and being one of the people, not given that it's not a very common product, I'm trying to find out how can I get a huge market share before anybody figures out what this thing is all about. And I can't focus just on local art shows. So for me, local art shows are just a test ground.
I just wanted to interrupt really briefly. We were having some technical difficulties getting Taliah Terry of Lazy Nerd Designs in, so she might be popping in the Zoom room as soon as she can get her camera going. So
Great. Thanks, Jess.
No problem.
How about you, Avery? What did you always see your business going online as well? Or I know that you mentioned having stronger relationships with some of the local stores in the area.
We'd always tried to go online, but have, I guess, suffered the same problem that Clay was talking about. Our purses are made out of a lot of imported materials that people don't really, or a lot of people haven't heard of. And so each piece also ends up being basically one or two of a kind, and online marketplaces like Etsy or Amazon really don't cater to individual pieces very well, I've found. We are trying different avenues. We've had some success with Instagram, just posting stories and trying to get them shared as much as possible. But no, we've always focused on some of the more local stores, partly because we just have had a relationship with them from being customers. So it was kind of a natural evolution to start with the places we were most familiar. And yeah, like I said, I personally have not had a lot of success trying to work online, and that does make working without our arts markets a little more difficult. But, we keep trying and hope that one day we'll hit that magic formula. But yeah, having just good relationships with local businesses is, the thing that has saved us.
Okay. All of you mentioned kind of marketing and the difficulty of defining yourself adequately. When the pandemic hit, what changed about the way that you tried to do that market research to figure out who your target customer was? Anybody can.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I didn't want to. I don't have to go first every time. No. Sorry, my last name is Achee. It starts with an A. I was like, I am like seriously conditioned to go first. So, but no, I think for us, because we had been a business for quite a number of years already, we really understand. I feel like we really understood who our audience was, and then what changed was, wait, they're gone. We can't get to them anymore. I don't know, where are they? I'm not going to go to their houses, so yeah, the for us, even if you were lucky enough to have a sort of built-in, like really know your market and really know your customer base, they weren't there. You had to figure out, I think social media is a wonderful tool. I can't imagine trying to do this in the 90s. In general, but thank goodness social media was a tool that we could use, and we were able to reach out to our people through means that we had already had set up. But now it was like the most important thing we could be doing.
This in studio, we're going to get her set up very quickly. It doesn't take very long. So Taliah, can you scoot on down one chair?
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure if you were asking me.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Would you like to introduce yourself real quick? Or
Hello, I am Taliah with Lazy Nerds Designs. I am kind of like a manager of the company, and we do screen printing and embroidery. Sorry, I'm out of breath because I sprinted in here.
No worries.
We do screen printing and embroidery. A lot of our merchandise is centered around like pop culture, anime, nerd stuff, different things like that, and we also offer custom services as well.
Great. So we were in the middle of talking about marketing and social media and how the pandemic may have affected how you do that.
Mhm.
So if you'd like to speak to
Okay.
that.
So we were already kind of in the process of working out like understanding social media, because social media, especially when you have multiple forms of it, can be vastly different how you like work with their algorithms and things. So one thing that we actually kind of had to focus on was trying to figure out how to use the algorithm to our advantage to help us gain new customers in the pandemic, because a lot of our customer base was kind of hands-on because we travel to different conventions throughout the nation, usually throughout the year. So with everything being shut down, it was like, oh man, people, especially when it comes to a pearl, people are kind of, some like granted, a lot of our things are moving to online right now in general, but people are still kind of skeptical to buy like clothes and things online because it's like, well, how's it gonna fit and such like that. So that was kind of, I won't say it was hard, but it was definitely a learning curve of like, how can I market this so that people see it and they're interested in buying it? Like, is paying for product ads on things like social media, like Instagram and things, worth it? Does it help with the reach, like legitimately, as they say, and things like that?
Sure. Guy, you have more of an international market. Do you find that social media works differently in different kind of countries or different places of the world, as well as differently from site to site?
Yes, actually, like with like, oh, sorry, was somebody? Oh,
That was we have some panelists on Zoom as well.
oh,
So that question was actually specifically for Guy, but
oh, my bad, my
yeah.
bad. I'll be
It's all
quiet.
right.
Well, I mean, social media it's the same everywhere. For me, I've been reading and studying a lot about social media, and the challenge with social media is conversion. And from what I'm learning and what I'm finding out, the greatest conversion on social media comes from actually having people who have bought your product and they're posting it, and people who actually know them. Because the thing about social media and selling is it's a trust issue.
Sure.
When you don't know me and I'm just marketing, it doesn't make any sense. Simple example for me, I have a whole bunch of people who've purchased my stuff in different art shows, and a few of them have posted pictures on their different sites and on their Instagram stories and things like that. And because of that, they've brought in other people to buy. So for me, social media, it's hard when you just mark, especially for somebody who's new in the area like me. Clay might have built a lot of trust already, but for me, I just started. So it's hard for me to just go out and sell. But what I found out is working the great thing about social media is if you're able to get actual customers, actual people who've bought and tried your product, when they post or repost, the probability that their friends would buy increases. So the power of social media is those people who buy can influence their friends, who can in turn influence their friends in different places in the world, the people you can't reach. So that's how I perceive social media. Wherever it is, it's the same concept. So my goal when I'm going to social media is how can I get the people who have purchased to market it for me? Because I've had repeat sales because of that. Very few have just seen, because I've tried to push on Instagram and people I'm just trying to target and they're not actually getting or buying. But somebody who has come to my page because they were recommended by a friend, I have had a higher probability of somebody buying that way.
So you're basically transferring trust from you and a customer through their friendship, though. The trust happens through a line of friendship. Or social media friendship. But that's really cool.
Well, and so in that way, it's kind of the same in a sense as the physical marketplace, because you're still trying to find people who will be your advocates or ambassadors to their communities, their circles of friends. Actually,
But
as a sorry.
the advantage of social media is that your friends are not local. I have
Sure.
people
Right.
who've ordered stuff from Maryland who were recommended by somebody in Louisiana. That's the advantage of social media.
Yeah.
I have somebody who purchased from Canada, somebody bought from France, but the people who related to them were based here. So that's the advantage. The thing about art, trust just built on art shows are kind of very local. But the thing about social media is you have friends everywhere, and that spreads the market. That's the advantage.
Mm-hmm. Avery, would you like to speak to that as well?
I would, but I just I've not had the success with it. So I've had several businesses that have tried to make it through advertising on social media, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And it just is like everyone's saying, it's building the trust and hitting the right market. I've actually had more success on social media with selling kind of side projects. It does allow you to it does give you the control to diversify what you're advertising in within your sphere of influence. When after COVID hit, I started doing woodworking, and I've made things like reeds and birdhouses. And if this for traditional media, you don't really want to or you don't really have the opportunity to show things that people aren't expecting to see from you, because that's can be a waste of money or kind of confuse the market. But in social media like Instagram or Facebook or even Twitter, with the news feed, you can really post a variety of products, and it doesn't run that risk of people getting confused about it because they're used to, in that setting, seeing a variety of things anyway. So they'll go, oh, I really like this purse, and click on it and see we make other things. Or, oh, I really like this birdhouse. Oh, well, this company actually specialize or makes purses. And also we've been in stores where we've sold antiques alongside our purses that we just find. So it's kind of we would also offer, not really offer, but we can give you a wider idea of our tastes and what we're able to find. And that would be very limited if we were dependent on, say, like a static newspaper ad or a once a month magazine ad. So it does just give you an opportunity to, I guess, build a more diverse brand.
It does. It lowers the risk of experimentation, I would think.
Yeah,
because it's
exactly.
It's a little
exactly.
bit. Social media advertising can be a little bit cheaper and a little bit wider ranging. So, and a lot easier to cancel if something's not working.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you found that your target customer has changed, or your ideal sort of person who will find your site and not to be crass, but give you all of their money has changed?
Yeah, I actually, I would say our target customer has changed, because our purses that we're making, we use a lot of what's called Suzani. It's hand embroidered material made by people in different countries in Central Asia, and each one of those things is something. Each one of these pieces is something that someone has dedicated hundreds of hours to. And so when we take it and thoughtfully process it from like a wall hanging or a tablecloth into a purse, that all of that work combined doesn't come cheap. So our purses are, kind of premium priced. And since COVID hit, our top seller, as probably everyone that works with textiles, has become masks. And that's we charge, or the stores that we're in usually charge between, $10 and $30 for our masks. And we can get away with that because it uses so much less material that our target has gone from being a super niche thing to trying to absorb as much of this brand new market as we can while we can.
Sure. And Taliah, I know that Lazy Nerd Designs recently started offering masks as
Yeah.
well. How quick of a decision was that for you?
It was almost instant, like not immediate, but I think maybe like a week or two into the pandemic, we were like, all right, all our shows are getting canceled. We've got all this fabric that would usually be turned into things like bags or pillows. And so Aaron was like, well, I'll call my aunt and see if she knows how to make masks. And I think we had a couple customers that were like, could we get this as a mask? And he's like, yes, you can.
Yeah. The same thing with some of our purses.
Yeah, they were like, it was like I don't think it was something that we thought we were gonna have to do because I think a lot of us went into the pandemic thinking like, oh yeah, this will be fine in like a month, and now here we are.
I can't wait for my breath.
Right. At this point, we've basically like endured a pregnancy, and we don't know when it's gonna end. So yeah, it was, and because it's been going on so long, now we've kind of got to the point where the masks are slowing down because everybody's got masks. You spent so much time buying the mask, and now it's like, okay, now what? We still need money.
Yeah. Once they have a mask that will match everything in their wardrobe.
Right.
Yeah, I know a lot of online places were selling like a mask to match your dress.
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're sort of starting to come out of that, like you said, like mask sales are kind of slowing down
a little.
So are you noticing that your other sales are picking back up, or is are we all just still in
I
a
think
pit?
right now it's kind of like, because the holidays are coming and people are still really worried. Like, some people are going back to work, some people are just being flat out laid off from work.
Yeah.
And I think right now everybody's in like an economic situation where nobody's really sure if they should be buying things. And
even
so
if you're doing okay, we have no confidence in the next 6 months. So
exactly. So everybody's kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
it looks like this is gonna happen. We're going into 2021 with this, which that's what we were told we wouldn't have to do, but it's like this is happening. So now people are, I think, being a little more cautious of how they spend their money and how necessary some of the things that they're buying are. So right now I'll be honest, things are a little slow, but we're hoping for the holidays. People are like into some of our bags and stuff again.
Yeah. I know I feel like everybody hit a point in the pandemic where it was like, okay, now I'm going to spend my money because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. We had customers, like we had done a sale. I think that when we hit like a certain number on Instagram and we had like 25% off our site. And it was one of our busiest times throughout the pandemic because people literally were saying like, I've got nothing to do with my money. I'm in the house. I know I have food. I've got clothes. So now I'm just buying a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's kind of like gotten over that part now. And they're like, okay, we're running out of stuff to spend money on that's actually like necessary.
Oh, this is still happening.
Yeah.
I guess yeah.
Maybe I should start a savings account.
Avery and Gabe, you found that as well, that your sales maybe picked up even in the pandemic, just because people do start like needing those endorphins from online shopping or from whatever.
We've had only in the past couple of weeks have we really seen any of our more traditional products start returning to a normal flow out the door. But yeah, we have definitely noticed the slowdown in mask sales. I think we sold we were probably selling $1,000 a month worth of just masks through one store in June and July, and I think we're down to maybe $100 a month now in that sale, in those sales. But we've actually in the past couple of weeks been able to get into a couple of more local stores, and those the great thing about getting into a local established store is that if they have done the work themselves to establish a customer base over the years, and have gotten this far and are still seeing into the pandemic and are still seeing sales, then I think that can kind of help inoculate us to the slowdown. We are still seeing some pretty decent sales for our more luxury items, and it's purely because of the stores we've gotten into.
Guy, do you have anything to add to that?
Not particularly. I mean, you asked a question about the target market changing during COVID.
Yes.
So far, personally, for me, not a big difference. When we started this business, it was more targeting the folks or young ladies who wanted something different. But when I did the few arts market, I was amazed. Like kids all the way to older ladies who were buying jewelry. So it kind of confused me because I was like, do I try to figure out how to narrow, or do I just, let the market take its course? So personally, so far since April, the different arts markets I have done and online, there's no particular age group. Honestly, my customer base, I have a bunch of kids who've come with their parents at art shows and have bought earrings. I've had older ladies, I have young ladies. I haven't seen any particular change yet. But for the online one, I think it's more probably because the younger folks do more of the online browsing. They are the ones who tend to come a lot more online. But for the actual physical arts markets, it's just ladies from all age groups. I haven't really seen any change personally. So, and the sales have been, so far, my baseline, which we're trying to grow with 2 arts markets a month, I think we've been able to do at least $1,000 in sales every month. And that's because, again, I am not really pushing as much as I need so far. It's hard running a day job and this.
Oh, for sure.
If I really have to hit because there's an arts market every weekend for the on-ground one. If I do that, I'll probably be averaging $2,500 a month, but then I'll have no life.
Yeah.
There's that sinking moment in every art market where you're doing really good and you go, oh, I'm gonna have a horrible week this week trying to catch up. A good art market will leave you terrified, having to know what you have to remake to get back to zero there.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's it for me.
Okay, this is just kind of a general question. A lot of everybody was really concerned about like hygiene and things like that, and I think all of you make things mostly by hand. So did anything change about the way you physically produce the things that you sell, or the way that you package them to ship?
I know for us with the masks, we started off because we did have a few like personal in-person, like you were saying, art markets that we went to. And I think it was one particular art market that made us kind of be a little more cautious because we had previously just had all of the masks made, and then they would sit and they would, kind of like be in sanitation, and then we would then sell them, and we would have like table setups, and we would just lay them out, use gloves, lay them out on the table. And we had one situation where somebody actually walked up and like put a mask over his face and then put it back on the table.
Why would you do
I was
that?
okay, so it was
Why?
actually really terrible and it was really annoying, I'm not gonna lie. And so after that, we literally just went to Sam's and we bought the big box of sandwich bags, and every mask is now like, after it sanitizes, it goes into its bag and that's where it stays. And if you pick that up and you take that out, that is your mask. You have to buy that. And we we started labeling them with the sizes because we're like, like, it really, like I said, it really just bothered me because it was like, okay, you put this over your face. Now I want to be one of those, like, you have to buy that people.
Yeah.
But, I can't force anybody to buy anything, but I'm like, well, now this has to go in the trash, which is like wasted material and that's wasted money, So it definitely changed that for us. We were already kind of like, because we work with inks, so we already like wash our hands a lot. We're always trying to be careful. We have like the aprons and the gloves and stuff, but it definitely did make it so that we're like, okay, we're gonna actually have to make sure we sanitize. Like we have a physical location, and like within recent weeks we've kind of been letting people come in, and we've got the mask only, you can't come in without it, but we do like basically go through every day and like kind of sanitize everything, the doorknobs, all that stuff. And that was, like, you already do, you're used to doing like a weekly deep clean, but then it's like, okay, every day I'm like scrubbing stuff with a toothbrush because I'm like terrified of, not even necessarily just me getting it. Like people, we have a lot of kids and things like that come around for our merchandise, or people with kids. So it was definitely, we have a lot more bleach than we've ever owned.
The thing that we had to do, we did our first new art market 2 weeks ago, and because it's puppets, because you're literally supposed to stick your hand in it. So, but we did invest in the hand sanitizer for our booth. So I work from home, so home wasn't so scary. I know how to take care of me at home. Shipping things, I felt good about. But once we got back into the world and did art markets, the hand sanitizer. What we did find, however, thankfully, was that, somebody would ask, thank God, somebody, I can't believe somebody put on a mask, but somebody would add, oh, can I touch it? I was like, actually, yeah, just let me squirt a little. And they were, oh, yes, thank you. So like people were very thankful to have the opportunity to have the hand sanitizer, so that they knew they were being part of the safe, the safety of it and stuff. So that was the one thing that we, baggies is a great idea.
Yeah, we did also have the hand sanitizer.
We brought the hand sanitizer because like every time you stop at a tent, now like
now you're like
now it's dangerous. So if you hand sanitize at every tent, you all right.
And then you've just got no bacteria at all.
Nothing.
Which is a whole other thing.
You won't even go there.
You can't win. All right. How about Avery and Guy? Did you change anything about the way that you produce your products?
Most of our products, because we end up selling them through stores, were kind of wholesale. So they would sit around for a bit, and my business partner is also my mom. So they're taking precautions because they're a little bit older, and so we figured, there's not no germ was gonna last as long as it takes for our product to actually get to the store and then get to the shelf. So we really didn't have to change that much.
Yeah, and at the point where it's at the store, it's kind of out of your hands anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, everything is produced from home. So, like Clay said, it's easier to control things when you're at home. The challenge is, how do you do it when you're out? I kind of noticed for me when I go to art shows, what I've noticed for me is people tend to, I'm sorry for the kids, they're just all over the place. How I deal with them. So people tend to be a little careful. For me personally, that's what I've noticed. Like, people don't really touch. I don't know. It's like everybody's kind of self-conscious. I've just noticed it. But I have a hand sanitizer on my table. People don't put on the jewelry. Again, there's a mirror, like they can hold, there's a little paper on it, they can hold it close to themselves by the mirror, but nobody wears them. That's it. The new thing I'm working on now is just working on having display and sales samples. Like one is just for display, and then the other one is packaged for sales. That's where I'm going towards in the future because of all of this. It's gonna make it a little bit easier. So I'm not yet there, but so far, when I go to art shows, I started doing that, having hand sanitizers, having people use it. Again, sometimes it's hard to control because I remember there was one art show I had like 10 folks around my tent. And I'm like, okay, social distancing,
Yeah.
Because what I've noticed is some of them are like a group of friends.
Yeah.
Right.
When people don't know you, again, from what I kind of observe a lot, some folks will literally wait out there while a group is just in, and when they're done, they go out. So I try to set my tent in such a way that everything is towards the wall, nothing in the middle. So people can kind of walk on one side, and while they're going around, they can keep that spacing. I try to avoid to have stuff in the middle. So if somebody's looking at stuff on one side of the tent, they can have enough room and let another person on the other side. But again, it becomes challenging when a lot of people are in the tent. So I'm still working on the logistics of dealing with that, how to handle that.
Yeah.
It's hard. Not everybody is conscientious. I remember rain came to one of my markets, and people were not following in. Like everybody kept getting in her space, and she had to scoot out and back. I'm like, it's hard to control that. So
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a challenging time. We're at time, so we're gonna wrap this up. We got to go to a commercial break. I wanted to thank you all for coming. The way that all of your businesses, all your information, we'll put that up on the Baton Rouge.makerfaire.com so we can share how to find you guys on social media and each of your websites. So thank you for coming, and we hope that this was great for you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
All
you
right.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you.